really have to go pee. I'm doing the pee-pee dance. I'm doing the pee-pee dance. I'm doing the pee-pee dance.
Well, while we're here, let's bob this and double click on that, on what was leaked.
Do you have to go pee? Are you doing the pee-pee dance? Are you doing the pee-pee dance? Are you doing the pee-pee dance?
And the paid stubs, and I didn't want to spend most of the episode on that, because this one we want to talk more globally about the concept. It's not about one leak.
Cross your arms, cross your legs. Better tell your mama, better tell your dad. We better hurry up. We need to make it fast. Don't want to make a mess. Don't want to pee our pants.
But the most sexy stuff that's come out, or the thing that's gotten certainly a lot of attention this week, is just that the pay stub of Elder Eyring from what was it, 11 years ago, something like that.
They spanned from 1999 to 2000.
Gotta go to the bathroom like the big kids do. We're gonna do it too, feeling like brand new. Now we don't have to go pee. We're done doing the pee-pee dance. Done doing the pee-pee dance. We're done doing the pee-pee dance.
Okay. So it's a snapshot in time of that, and it's been interesting to me to see the response and the arguments back and forth, because I guess I haven't jumped in really in the discussion because it's just tiresome, and it just feels reminiscent of
sitting on the potty until we're through, then flush the toilet, wash our hands, feeling like brand new. Now we don't have to go pee until next time. There will be a next time, but that's the end of our rhyme.
This is Infants on Thrones.
Doing the pee-pee dance.
The philosophies of men mingled with humor. We are the Quorum.
All right. Well, we got the guys from Mormon Leaks coming on to talk about, leaks.
We need to make it fast.
Jeez, I gotta take a leak so bad I can taste it.
Man, it seems like all day today, it's just like everything somebody said has some sort of a pee or a urine reference, it seems like.
This is breaking news. Trending right now on Twitter is the hashtag golden showers. It's in reference to Donald Trump and the alleged influence of Russia on Trump. Why? Because of golden showers. I kid you not. This is being covered by CNN, MSNBC, BuzzFeed, The Young Turks. They are alleging that Trump has been compromised and that he is being puppeted by Russia due to what? Due to a blackmail conspiracy, a conspiracy to blackmail him because of his sexual endeavors, which include R. Kelly-like events, golden showers.
Does anyone really believe that story? I'm also very much of a germaphobe, by the way. Believe me.
We are in a brave new world here with our president-elect. It's been bizarre, but so that'll give everybody the time frame for what we're talking about. Is when the information, when you're listening to people that are listening 3 years from now will remember, oh yeah, I remember when that golden shower thing about Trump came out, whether or not it's true or not.
I'm going to level with you, bro. I don't need to pee.
But would you guys just thumbnail introduce yourselves and as much as you can, and what your role is with Mormon Leaks?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm Ryan McKnight, and a lot of people know me on Reddit as Fearless Fixer, and I guess you could say that I'm the founder of Mormon Leaks, and sort of in charge of this whole project. It's kind of my baby, and then I'll let Privacy introduce himself and tell you guys what he does with us.
All right, Privacy.
Yeah. So I'm Privacy P. Pratt. That's obviously not my real name. But for reasons which I've outlined online, I've chosen to remain anonymous for now.
What are those reasons?
The biggest one, just what will my family and friends do if they find out what I'm doing, right? You know how TVMs tend to freak out about this kind of thing. And then also just, implications for my career as well. I mean, I work in technology in my career. And then someone close to me is also works for the church, so that has some potential implications there.
Okay. Yeah, so I thought it was just kind of like shtick that you guys came up with. Like, let's have an anonymous guy to make it like that much more sexy. I think it's a good move, regardless of whether or not it was intentional or.
It's definitely intentional. But what my role is, I'm the technical advisor / lead engineer to Mormon Leaks. Is that how you'd put it, Ryan?
Yeah, well, I'll let you call it whatever you want to call it, since I'm not really a tech guy. That sounds really good, what you just said.
Yeah, I was going to say, could you explain that for non-technical people like myself?
Yeah, so I mean, I guess we could start from if I just tell the story from the beginning, it might explain a little bit better. When the videos came out in October, I listened to Ryan's interview on Mormon transitions in which he outlined how he received the videos, and there's some serious implications with the way that he received those videos. That I mean, the user was not completely anonymous, and the services that they used to receive the videos. I mean, that information could be subpoenaed in a court should the church ever decide to sue Ryan. Or I'm not a lawyer, right? But it's better safe than sorry. And with the rate that things were being leaked, it was obvious that a site like this needed to happen. And I consider myself, I mean, I work in cybersecurity, and I'm passionate about privacy. And so I approached Ryan and told him that we can build a site kind of WikiLeaks style, just because that's the WikiLeaks is only the inspiration in the sense that it is completely anonymous when people upload documents or information or whatever it may be. When you hit our server, upload a document, we have no way of tracing it back to you unless you go out of your way to contact us and tell us that that was you, and that's so that we have plausible deniability, and also just for the safety of the leaker, right? I mean, a lot of these people probably working for the church, potentially violating a non-disclosure agreement that they have with the church, and we want to keep them as safe as possible.
So you created the technology to allow this stuff to be uploaded truly and purely anonymously.
I don't know that I'd say that I created it. We're actually using a program called Secure Drop, which is developed by the Freedom of the Press Foundation, and it's used by a lot of big name publications such as The Guardian. We have, and I believe the Washington Post. I know the New Yorker also uses it, and I had to tweak it a little bit for our uses. But yeah, I got the system up and running and whatnot.
All right.
Yeah, cool. And if I could just jump in real quick and just sort of add to what he said. After the videos leaked.
Hey, look, everybody! Billy peed his pants.
Of course I peed my pants. Everybody my age pees their pants. It's the coolest.
I was getting inundated with people claiming to have stuff, and
if peeing your pants is cool, consider me Miles Davis.
Some of it sounded really promising, and of course anonymity was an issue, and so privacy was one of the many people that reached out when I had sort of done a little call to action, and I guess he won the lottery in that sense, or maybe it wasn't the lottery, but he passed my sniff test. I had probably between 20 and 30 people who claimed to have the ability to make a site like this contact me. And I do think some of them actually did have the ability, but I'm not convinced all of them did. I think some people were very generous in their in claiming what their abilities were to me because they just wanted to be involved. But I took a chance on him because of a couple of things he said in our conversations, and Actually, at first I didn't want to work with him, actually. What was it, privacy, that I didn't want to do when you first said to me? I can't remember what it was.
You didn't want to work with an anonymous person.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he had said something to the effect of, like, you can't know who I am, and I said, well, there's no way I can discuss this sensitive information with somebody that I don't know who it is. But yeah, I mean, I'm glad that I feel like I'm the one that hit the jackpot with finding him, and he's been super awesome to work with, and he's been great at explaining things to me like I'm 5, because I'm an accountant by trade, and I'm not a computer guy really. By trade, yeah.
It's always by trade.
Yeah, and I don't really know computers other than point and click and send an email and use it. I'm good at Excel.
Well, yeah, that's why I was so surprised that privacy, revealed to us who he was and where he lives, because it was been on lockdown. But yeah, it was a lot more exciting than once I found out who he was.
There you go.
I'm fucking with you, Ryan.
Oh, I came on late. I thought I was actually surprised. I'm like, really? Because he's got that on lockdown.
Yeah. So I'm interested what it's like to have all these unintended consequences for our democracy by having Mormon leaks and these things that keep things private.
Well, can I hear and ask a question real quick? As far as Mormon Leaks, your guys' name, it was originally Mormon WikiLeaks. Then you changed it to Mormon Leaks, because I was just doing some online searching.
Yeah.
And it looks like you guys had a little run-in with the WikiLeaks, and they asked you to change it to Mormon Leaks. And then I went to MormonLeaks.com, and that's like something that Craig Criddle's doing.
Yeah.
And you guys have like MormonLeaks.io, is that right? You run that down for me just so people can find you.
All right. Well, we originally, when I was originally buying domain names, I wanted MormonLeaks.com because I had named the YouTube channel Mormon Leaks, and that was prior to me really looking for a domain name. And I was very disappointed when MormonLeaks.com was taken. And I was even more disappointed when I saw that it had nothing to do with leaks. But obviously there was nothing I could do for that. I have reached out to Mr. Criddle, and I don't know if we can maybe work an arrangement out in the future. That's to be seen. But anyway, when it came time to decide what our name was, we threw it around a lot, and we went back and forth with all kinds of stuff, and we just ended up thinking Mormon WikiLeaks, and because one of the reasons we were able to get MormonWikiLeaks.com, which was nice, and we were kind of taking the approach in our minds, and maybe this was flawed thinking, but in our minds we were kind of taking the approach that the term WikiLeaks had become so synonymous with just sort of the general leaking of information that the public deserves to know, that we kind of thought that it would be okay to attach the word Mormon to it, and that it wouldn't be so much of an issue. And also,
Kleenex. At some point, Kleenex lost their brand, right? Because it became so ubiquitous.
Right, and maybe not enough time has passed for that to happen with the term WikiLeaks. I don't know. But, the other thing that kind of made us feel okay with it was that they hadn't trademarked their name in the United States. And, and I don't, again, I'm not a lawyer, but so maybe there's loopholes around that. I've learned since then that there might be some treaties with the European Union where the United States would actually honor their trademark, even though it's not here, and all this kind of stuff. But anyway, we went forward with the Mormon WikiLeaks, and to my surprise, they tweeted us with the first day or within the first 2 days, I'd say, that we were up and running, and asked us to change the logo and the name. Now we did go too far with the logo. The original logo had their hourglass built in, kind of incorporated into. I wish we didn't do that, but we did change the logo right away. And behind the scenes, we didn't acknowledge their tweet at all. But obviously we saw it, and we were getting a lot of criticism from WikiLeaks supporters on Twitter, on Reddit, tons of criticism, and a lot of it was very valid.
Yeah,
and those
aren't really enemies you were looking to make.
Yeah, well, sure, because a lot of these guys, they may want to like do some sort of a cyber attack on us as retribution and things like that. So we were going back and forth, and the reason why it took so long and we didn't do it right away is because we were debating behind the scenes whether or not to let the trademark process play out, because we had filed for the trademark. And so one day we were like, okay, let's just let the trademark play out and see what happens. And then the next day we're like, no, let's just go ahead and squash it now. And it finally got to the point where we said, no, let's make a move now. We're about to do this big leak, and let's go ahead and take advantage of the fact that we're probably going to get some attention from the leak and use that to also establish a name. And we went back to my original idea of Mormon Leaks, and of course there's Craig Criddle there. But for us, there's no connection on his website to leaks, really. I mean, it's just a blog. So we felt comfortable go ahead and using that name because we feel like that it properly represents what we're doing. And so we rolled the name out, and that's the story.
No, that's cool. I guess I would just say the best place to find you guys' information is it through Twitter and Facebook, and because I went to the website and it looks like that's primarily just for submissions.
Yeah, right now, yes. Right now, we're using third-party websites to host our documents that we're leaking, and we're making that announcement first on Facebook, second on Twitter, and then third on Reddit. That's kind of the order that we're doing things right now. And I don't know if we want to talk about this now or later, but we are in the works of putting together the ability to host documents and videos. And we want to create kind of a wiki type page where obviously you can do the submissions, but then you can click on our wiki and there'll be, and we want it to actually kind of like what Fair Mormon does, where you've got all the different themes. Right. And you can click on one, and then, so maybe there will be one about, general authority pay. You click on that, and then it will tell a little backstory about this and that, and then of course it'll have the documents. And I've actually recruited a bunch of people that are going to help write the wiki entries. So so we're just working on getting the server set up and all that we need to do hosting. Initially we wanted to have the end of January as our target date to have that up, but with all of the attention that we've gotten, and I have been just completely swamped with media and dealing with all this stuff, and so that may get pushed back, but I don't want it to get pushed back too far. So hopefully sooner rather than later, people will be able to get everything on our website.
No, that's cool. Were you going to say something? Privacy? Go ahead.
Yeah. I just wanted to add a couple things about the name. Obviously, we received a ton of criticism. And I just wanted to point out that we got hit up a lot saying that we were exploiting the WikiLeaks name, and while that may be true, that was never our intention ever. And also we got a lot of shit for supposedly refusing to change our name, which I also just want to point out that was never ever the case. As soon as we got that tweet from WikiLeaks. Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but we were completely open to the idea as soon as we saw the tweet.
I mean, I was actually almost ready to pull the trigger and change it, and but when I took a step back and I realized, okay, let's take some time and think this through. But yeah, we didn't think that we were going to get any media attention by launching the site, to be honest with you, because we didn't have any leaks to go with the launch. We were nothing yet. And so we thought we would get like a small mention, like, maybe in the online version of the Tribune or something. But I didn't really expect more than that until we had our first leak. And so I was completely caught off guard by the media attention that we got. And I guess I should have foreseen it, but I mean, I'm not super versed in the media and how that works.
I actually think we could thank WikiLeaks for that. I think WikiLeaks tweet had a lot to do with the amount of press that we got.
Yeah. What is the website?
So you like the domain name?
Yeah. If somebody wants to upload something that they think is leak worthy for you guys, where do they go? MormonLeaks.io. And we have a bunch of other URLs that redirect to it, and MormonWikiLeaks.com still redirects to it as well. But the main URL is MormonLeaks.io.
.io, and then there's instructions on that page, and then there's also a contact email that they can email me. We have had a couple of minor issues where the upload feature was down, and I've had people email me saying, I'm trying to upload something, and we can get it fixed right away. And it's something that privacy is working out. It's not a big deal, and it's not down most of the time.
It's the main problem is fixed. There's just one thing that needs attention that I am fully aware of, and yeah, we'll be fixing in the next day or two. So,
but yeah, most of the time the site is up and working. But if anybody listening to this is trying to submit something and for any reason it's not working, shoot me an email, because in almost every case we've had it back up and working within 5 minutes.
However, I'd like to preface that ideally, we realize what a shitty situation that is, because I mean, you have to reach out to trying to keep the sites up. You're trying to keep yourself anonymous. Yeah. We, as I said, the 95% of the problem is fixed. There's just that extra 5% that needs to be taken care of. Also, we plan right now. The site is actually the part of the site to actually submit documents is only accessible through the Tor network, which is a hidden network on the internet. If any of you guys are familiar with Silk Road, that's where Silk Road was hosted. Anyway, so it's on the Tor network, and that's not incredibly user-friendly. And in the near future, we plan on making it accessible through the regular web as well. So.
All right, but you feel confident to be able to say that if somebody does upload that, they will be perfectly anonymous?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Like we can't even tell you what the stats are on our website, like views and stuff. It doesn't log anything. And when we get the documents through the secure drop, it's just simply a clean, fresh document.
So as a transition, is this the method that you got the general authority funds information? Was it through this way or some other way?
Well, we're not commenting right now on the specific ways we receive specific things, only because I've been dealing with leakers for a long time now, way before the iteration of this website, and some of the stuff that we've leaked is from people that I've been dealing with from before the website.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
like all this stuff that we've leaked is not from one leaker, so it's multiple.
Right.
And I don't really want to get into like which document came to us which way and how much, but I'll just say this: the website is working.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's producing results.
How about I give you a little champagne? Close your eyes and get ready.
Oh, I'm ready. This is kind of kinky. And I like that. It's gotta happen now. Get my bag. All right, go, bro. Oh, that's it. Bathe the Stiffmeister. Oh, that's great. Oh, that's great. How did you get it so nice and warm? Oh, I can taste the bubbles.
I feel that it would be, yeah. And I just want to point out, thanks, Ryan, for saying that. I feel that it'd be ethically irresponsible for us to actually reveal that information, considering our mission.
All right. Lame, but so I wanted to talk about leaks generally, the idea of leaks. What would you guys say is the strongest and most valid criticism of the leaking world, and specifically what you guys are doing?
Uh-oh. What? What's wrong? The bottle's almost full. I'm still going. So stop going. I can't stop going once I've started. It stings.
Well, I think that there is definitely a fine line as to what deserves to be made known to the public. I guess that's probably what's always gets debated. And it's not like there's a textbook where we can go down a list and there's like a matrix where we can find out where the item fits in the matrix and decide whether or not it should be leaked. So there's some judgment involved there.
Right. So ultimately, it's just your discretion.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you say there's a line, give me an example of what's on the other side of the line that you would not leak that in your parameters for example.
Well, some of the easy examples that I could give you is let's say, names and email addresses and personal information of just your typical church employee that might have their information on a document. We would redact something like that. And, again, I don't want to get into like too much specifics, but I can tell you, like, I have received stuff of an incredibly personal nature of the 12 apostles, and we will never leak these things because they have nothing to do with the institution or with their calling or they're not tied to unethical behavior. And these are things that would be extremely, interesting to people, probably especially ex-Mormons, but because it's really just more personal in nature, we won't release those things. So there is a line, and maybe one day in the future when enough time has passed, I can give like specific examples of what that would be. But we're interested mainly in things like the financial. Obviously, that's gonna, if it's something of financial nature of the church, the corporation, and policies and procedures, for example, those are the things that we feel that that the public deserves to know about this organization that they're supporting, just like any typical most nonprofits and churches would do, just like the government would do. Anytime you have people that are sort of claiming to serve the public and asking for donations on behalf of that, these types of things. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely I know there's going to come a time when there's going to be something that we receive that falls right into that gray area.
Sure.
And I don't know what will.
Well, right now, is it we'll make that judgment when it comes, or have you sat down and kind of mapped out, here are some principles that we want to try to stick to. And so going into it, you have an idea of what your parameters are.
I think it's really a case-by-case basis because, to be honest with you, like, we just have no idea what we're going to get. Like, if you would have told me 2 weeks ago that I was going to be in possession of pay stubs from an apostle, I would have told you that you're crazy. I would have never expected to receive something like that. So,
but I think I guess my point is if it seems to make sense if you're going to engage in something like this, may want to consider all of those things, so you at least have. That's my friendly suggestion as whatever I am, that consider those parameters going into it, and then it's a little easier to address it.
And that's a completely fair criticism, and I'd like to point out that during our last board meeting, I mean, we did lay out a couple, not very specifically, but we did say we do not want to leak anything of this nature. For instance, Ryan mentioned that he's in possession of things incredibly personal to certain general authorities, and we've already decided that we don't. If it's not going to benefit the public, because it's incredibly personal and there's really no relevance, then we're not going to publish it.
So that's why I'm going to bang on this drum a little bit, because you say something like that, and this is where I say I think principles and articulating principles are important, because you just use the word relevant. Relevant to what? And without advancing those or stating what those principles are, it's hard to it's hard to say. And this is where the criticism, I think, comes in. At least my criticism might come into to someone saying, well, we don't know what your standards are. We don't know what your parameters are. And why should I have some confidence in you to make that judgment call if I may hold the opinion that something that's very personal about a person that's in that type of a position and is so prominent, and is the idea of celebrities that put themselves out there no longer have certain the same rights to privacy as maybe you or I do. Sure. So what? I mean, what's your response to that?
Are you kind of like I think what you're asking, correct me if I'm wrong, like if you had something that you felt was relevant, you submitted it to us, and we decided it was too personal to share.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that now that somebody that may have that information say this is real, this is something that is relevant and very important to reveal something, and there's a real purpose to that, and then your judgment call is no, that's not, because in here's my parameters, and I'm saying without articulating what those are. Sure. So somebody has access to say, okay, this is really what falls in, what falls out from, that might make things a little clearer to people, and maybe even have a little bit more credibility in when you make that judgment call. Otherwise, there's an argument of, well, what biases, what motivations, what are it's the same thing we're talking about now with the hacking that's gone on. We released the stuff on the DNC, but not the stuff on the Republicans. And are you concerned that you open yourself up to that type of criticism?
I'll answer it this way, because I've seen this criticism a lot on some of the message boards, and I do think it's a valid concern. What I would say is simply, we are not the only way to leak documents. And if you send something to us and we reject it, or we don't, for whatever reason, there's nothing stopping you from finding another avenue to get the information out there. And I do think you have a good point about, articulating maybe some core principles of things that we're definitely, not going to touch, and maybe we will consider that. But at the end of the day, if you send me something and you're upset that we passed on it, there's definitely other ways to get that out there.
I know it feels like I'm really taking this personally, like you guys passed on some of my stuff.
Yeah, and that's not what I'm saying, but yes.
Come on, Ryan, you got my email, right?
Yeah.
I'd also like to point out that the Secure Drop, the system that we're using, provides a system to anonymously communicate with us, and so we can tell you that we're going to pass on this right now, and if you would like to know why, or you would like to argue that we should not pass on it, you have that opportunity to do so, still completely anonymously.
That's good information. Privacy. I didn't. So there is that mechanism to communicate. Okay, cool.
Yes.
All right. So
yeah.
And go ahead. I was talking about the other criticisms you've got that you think are fair.
You want us to say what the criticisms are?
Yeah, what you've received.
None of them are fair. None of them are fair. Well, we're the victims here.
I definitely think I definitely think what you just were hitting on is definitely the most fair criticism of us, and it's not something that we haven't talked about doing. We've only been up and running just almost a month now. And keep in mind that we all have full-time jobs, and we're all doing this in our spare time. But it's definitely something that we haven't talked about. Excuse me. Other fair criticisms that we've received.
Well, while you're thinking of that, I just wanted to take a quick minute. I'm pleasantly surprised that you guys have kind of this ethical boundaries that you're doing, that you're not turning this into like a Mormon TMZ thing where you're uploading video of a general authority caught masturbating or something.
Masculine, manly man.
Well, would that be relevant or not? I mean,
that's what, maybe it would, but I do like, and I know you guys do get quite a bit of criticism, but I just wanted to take a minute and just commend you that you are trying to have at least some high standards of, we're not just going to, show some extremely personal information that could be very damaging or offending to family members. And I don't know, I think that's really cool. So anyway, go ahead.
I was actually surprised that, and maybe this is just me being way too critical about society, but I was surprised that we didn't get criticism for redacting Henry B. Eyring's social security number.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Wow, really?
We did not get any criticism. That I know of anyway. I have not seen any criticism about it.
Well, and I'm happy about that, because I guess some things like that just seem absolute no-brainers, and that any reasonable person would, if anything, commend you for it. I would hope.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, most of the we've received really very little criticism outside of what you guys have already said, other than the Mormon slanted criticism, which is a whole nother story. That's a whole different ballgame, but as far as like thoughtful criticism that actually was really considering the issues at hand, I think we've kind of like covered really at least the things that I would consider to be legitimate. I mean, we're not publishing things that are going to put people's lives in danger. We're not publishing trade secrets, things like that. Mm-hmm. We're publishing things that simply should already be out there. In fact, I would say our website should not even exist.
Yeah.
Okay. But it does. And then we're going to keep submitting these things until we don't have to exist anymore. Right.
And no, that's I think I get what you're saying. Go ahead, privacy.
And on that note, I've mentioned this in my blog, that Ryan's been compared to Julian Assange by almost every single news outlet that's carried a story about us. And I think that's a ridiculous comparison. And a comparison to us, comparing us to WikiLeaks, while we did supposedly exploit their brand, it's comparing apples and oranges. WikiLeaks is dealing with information that is putting people's lives in danger, that is to bring transparency to governments, whereas we're bringing transparency to the Mormon Church that boasts 15 million members. Right, that's such a small percentage of the world population. It's not even close to the magnitude of what WikiLeaks is doing, nor the type of information.
And we talked about some personal information you won't share, but you talked about financial is a big one, but is it fair that if there's any private document that is in memorandums that have to do with policies, procedures, and the movements of the organization, anything related to the organization like that would be considered a corporate document would be fair game for you guys?
Absolutely. I think anything corporate is fair game. I mean, maybe we could think of something that isn't, but I'd say anything corporate is fair game. And then as far as personal information, if there was something that was really, really sort of solid and not it couldn't be confused for anything else, that showed some sort of illegal or extremely unethical behavior in, let's say, an apostle's private life. And I'm not suggesting that anything like that exists, but something like that would probably, come into play just because of the position that they have put themselves in.
Sure. Now, you talked about the Mormon criticism, and I know there's an article today about, or an opinion piece at the Deseret News, but if you could, in just a few seconds, summarize what the criticisms you get from believers is.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. And I'll give you a little rundown of what I see being the criticisms, and then maybe I'll let privacy address specifically the Deseret News op-ed, because just so you guys know, and maybe your listeners know, today is what, the 11th?
The 11th.
Of January that we're recording this. Tomorrow, the Deseret News is actually going to publish our response to their op-ed. They've actually, and we greatly appreciate that they were willing to do that. And Privacy is the one who penned the response. And we all reviewed it and added to it and approved it. But he took up the mantle of writing the response to that op-ed. But before he gets into that and maybe addresses their specific op-ed, just generally speaking, I think the number one criticism that I see is that this is just a bitter ex-Mormon looking to hurt the church, which is, becoming very much of a tired, old, broken record at this point, to be honest with you.
Right.
But it's to be expected. And I can understand.
Well, as tired ex-Mormons that are just trying to tear down the church, we can.
Yeah. And I can understand to a certain extent where that comes from, because I was there at one point at that place. But I would hope that people that are saying that can just take a step back for a second without putting a comment online or putting their thoughts out there online, and just have some thoughts to themselves about what they're actually saying. And while it might be true that we are that we don't have positive feelings towards the church, try to divorce our personal feelings towards the church to the overall goal that we are trying to achieve of transparency. Because news to the Mormons, not everything is as black and white as you think it is. You know, I think one of the biggest flaws in Mormon thinking is black and white thinking. And I know I was guilty of that on many, many occasions as an active Mormon, and I probably still am sometimes. But people need to understand that life, including our website and our mission, is not some black and white endeavor where we're sitting around saying, how can we get back at the church? Oh, let's create a website, and this will hurt the church, and this will cause people to leave. Like, we have never once had a discussion like that. Okay, this is about providing a transparency that we wish we had when we were members, and that we think the people deserve to have. And you know, if people who are not interested in that transparency, then they can just ignore our posts. But I actually think that more Mormons than we realize are interested in that. I think they're probably just not making comments on social media. We have received some private messages from people who claim to be active Mormons who thank us for what we're doing, because they say my one complaint about the church is the lack of transparency.
Yeah. And to me, I think that's the strongest criticism of the church. Whenever some of these debates come in, I tend to jump to transparency, because I think that's such a strong argument. So it certainly resonates with me.
Yeah, and you know, just one more point I want to make, and then I'll turn it over to privacy. But you know, a lot of this whole just a bitter ex-Mormon trying to hurt the church bleeds into, in this most recent leak, to say, oh, see, they thought they were going to hurt the church, but look, it's actually not a lot of money, or whatever it is they say in defense of these stipends, and they're completely missing the point.
Right. Well, their criticism was, your goal is to embarrass the church, and you haven't accomplished that yet.
Yeah. Right. Except, and so they're beginning with a false premise. As much as they don't want to believe it, and as much as what I'm saying right now is falling on deaf ears, I promise you that I am not interested in hurting the church with these leaks. If it hurts the church, if something we leak hurts the church, that is not my fault. And if we receive if we would have received a stipend that said that they make $30,000 a year, we would have released it.
Right.
Okay, because it's not about how much it is. It's not for us to decide whether or not it's a lot of money or a little money or not enough money or too much, whatever. We don't care. That's not our problem. We don't want to decide that for people. We just want people to know. And then if you want to say, oh, it's a lot less than what other CEOs make, which is an interesting justification considering the fact that you don't want us to think about your church as a business, but whatever. But we don't care what the amount is, and we don't care if you approve of the amount or you don't approve of the amount. We just want the information to be available because it should be.
See, I always thought it was interesting that they did that, because my response, if I'm them, my response would have been, that pales in comparison to other church leader, other right. churches of, much smaller that have national churches of, or national church leaders or something like that.
Right.
That's your response, and it's 100% true.
But even that response, it, to me, is almost just as bad as the corporate one, because I thought all the other churches were doing it wrong. I mean, so why are you comparing yourself to other churches? Whatever. I don't really care. I honestly don't care if somebody looks at this 120,000 or whatever the current inflated adjusted amount is, base stipend that the general authorities get, and says, I'm super happy with that amount. I lose no sleep over that, and I encourage you to continue to support that.
Well, while we're here, let's bob this and double click on that, on what was leaked and the paid stubs. And I didn't want to spend most of the episode on that, because it's not about one leak. We want to talk more globally about the concept. But the most sexy stuff that's come out, or the thing that's gotten certainly a lot of attention this week, is just that the pay stub of Elder Eyring from what was it, 11 years ago, something like that?
They spanned from 1999 to 2000.
Okay. So it's a snapshot in time of that. And it's been interesting to me to see the response and the arguments back and forth, because I guess I haven't jumped in really in the discussion because it's just tiresome, and it just feels reminiscent of some of these political discussions that are having. And it just reminds me that we are all as entrenched in our positions, and this will not convince any Mormon that the church is anything other than what they think it is, and this will not convince any Exmo that the church is anything other than what they think it is.
Yeah.
On that note, I do think we had a huge win with this leak, solely based on the fact, and we posted about this on Facebook, that the church recognized the leak, and they stated that all general authorities receive the same amount in their stipends. The church officially recognized themselves that they are paying their general authorities.
Now, this is where I tend to. So, as I was seeing the arguments, I found myself agreeing more with the Mormons than with the ex-Mormons.
What?
John Amos says no.
I know, Tom.
Take it back, dude.
Okay, so let me hit my points that I found compelling that I think are more.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
I thought that we were coming onto a friendly podcast here.
Yeah, right. We've always been known just. So
have you listened?
Tell us about how much you like us and what we've done to influence you, and tell us about what you think.
You guys have like how many Pratt is.
Yeah, that's me doing Heather doing John Delenn. So these were the points that I heard from the Mormons that I tended to agree with. Is number one. The number isn't as high as Exmo's thought, and I'll admit I didn't have sticker shock. I wasn't offended by the number. I didn't. It was a lot lower than I thought, and
really lower than you thought.
Oh, much lower. I was sure we were going to be talking at least somewhere between 250 and 400 a year.
Matt, when you're done with making your point, I want to come back and address what you just said.
Yeah, happy to, and we can, I want you to.
Because I was shocked, but go on.
You were shocked at the number, Tom?
That's Big Ten 4.
Wow. No, I want to hear more about that.
Well, are we going to come back to? Do you want to finish your list? Because
well, no. Let's stay here where I'm at. Why continue on?
Well, one, I knew they got something. Right. And I didn't know that there was going to be an actual number to it, but I did not think it was going to reach the 6 figures. Really? And when I saw that it did get over that number, I was like, damn. Because I guess part of me, and this is me doing the TBM whisper for Glenn, I reached back to the old believer, Tom, who thought that this was a lay ministry, that they don't get paid at all. They're a bunch of retired white guys.
That's remarkable, white guys, Tom. If you're going to TBM whisper, do it right. Sheesh.
They're doing this out of the kindness of their hearts, and maybe they get an apartment and the occasional meal and travel expenses. That's about it. But that number, I was like, damn.
That totally resonates with me personally. However, I was surprised that it was not as high as it was. But when I was a TBM, I thought the exact same thing.
So maybe my reaction has to do with how far removed I am from the church and how cynical I've become.
Yeah,
is that I expect a higher. So
well, let me say something. Let me just jump in real quick because I do agree with Tom and with privacy. When I was a believer, which was as recently as 4 years ago, I also would have not expected this number. But here's one thing that you might not be taking into consideration, Matt, is this is the base.
Well, I assure you, I'm taking into consideration. But go ahead.
Well, yeah. Well, then you can't really just say that it's only $120,000 because we don't know what all of the fringe benefits are. We know some of them. We also don't know how much and if they're making money from some of the for-profit ventures, the book deals, all this stuff. So when you said earlier, I think you said something about 250, whatever, it may exceed that when it's all said and done.
So we do have some information, and this is my understanding is, and I think this is pretty good authority, is that although they were once on boards, that doesn't exist anymore. So they aren't on boards anymore is my understanding. And I'm happy to be educated on that. The other thing that I found interesting is I have a little bit of insider knowledge about the book deals, and that by and large, Deseret Book hates the general authorities' books because they are horrible sellers and they do not make money. So I think this perception that they make a lot of money on these book deals and on the book sales is I think an Exmo trope and a bit of a myth. And it makes sense to me if you really think about how many people are buying Elder Eyring's last book. When it really comes to the number of people that are going in to buy that particular book at Deseret Book, it's pretty low. So
I hear what you're saying, but you also have to remember that just because they're not sitting on boards, and I've heard that as well, that doesn't preclude them from earning money from those ventures.
That's fair. And when you get that, I'd really be interested in that. And the piece that I'm more interested in, or I think and this is where this is where your job becomes tough, I think, because the church is very clever, and the church here has done, but the parsonage, I figured that this did not include housing, but my understanding is this amount does include.
We don't know actually if it.
Okay, why do you? Because on the pay stub it does have a line item for parsonage, which is historically a housing benefit. So
we do know that the amount that they were making back then includes it. However, the more recent amount, the 2014 memo that says that the base stipend is being raised to $120,000, it does not say one way or another if that includes the parsonage. And I think because they use the word base, it's not unreasonable to think that parsonage may be on top of that. But I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that I don't think it can be ruled out. Yeah, this is the attorney in me, the trial attorney wants to say that's where you're I think you're more safe in saying that the pay stub. I think there's more circumstantial evidence that if I look at that pay stub and say this is what it is. No, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. Okay, but I'll finish mine. I'll let you educate me. Telling you you're wrong. Yeah, I'll let you correct me. So we had this stub and we said, okay, this is what it is, and it's gone from we know it was 90,000 10 years ago, right? Ish. And then in the memo in 2014 says, okay, it's now going up from give me the number again, 120 to 150? From 114 to 120. Okay, 114 to 120. So I'm saying that those changes from 90 between then to 114 and then from 114 to 120, that tracks pretty consistently for me to draw conclusions that what we're seeing in the pay stub is what's reflected in the memo. But tell me why that would not be the case, and why you would expect in that period of time there to be such a gross demarcation from having the parsonage be $800 to having it be something so much more. Well, first of all, the parsonage still could be $800 a month. It would just be it could just be on top of the $120,000 a year. So I'm not suggesting how much or how little the parsonage amount is. But as far as the increase from the year 2000, which was around $90,000, up to $120,000 in 2014 being a consistent amount, consistent with what? We don't even know what the growth and income for the church was at the time. We don't know what factor their living allowance is tied to or anything like that. So there could have been incredible growth in the church's different various incomes that are tied to the calculation of their living allowance that grew exponentially to the point that their salary grew in an amazing amount. But the main but you don't have, but there's no support for that. You're just pulling it out of your ass. No, I'm not pulling it out of my ass, and there's no support. I'm just simply saying. Wait, you can't have those two things are those are mutually exclusive. No. You either there is support for it, or you're pulling out of your ass, not both. No, because what we're talking about here is whether or not we can assume, or it's most likely to assume, that the $120,000 includes the parsonage and other things. And what I'm telling you is simply that we not only do we not have information to say that, I think we have information to say that that's probably not the case. And the reason why I say that is because if you look at the pay stubs, there is a line item on the pay stub that says living allowance, and it's X number of dollars. And then aside from that, there's a line item that says parsonage. Now, in the memo, it says that the living allowance base is going to be $120,000. To me, okay, if I'm
they're only talking about that line item.
They're talking about that line item from the standpoint of where I'm coming from. Now, could I be wrong? Yes. I'm not saying that is definitely what the case is, but what I'm telling you is what I just said is not in any means unreasonable.
So let me offer a criticism here. Once you take the role of advocate like that and saying, look, let me give you one theory, one alternate theory is the one that you've laid out, which is the worst possible, or to make it as expensive as possible. I think that becomes, I think it becomes problematic, and you lose. To me, you risk losing credibility of just being about transparency, and now it's no. I really am trying to advance a certain position, which is to get this number as high as possible. Right. So me, I want to start from. If I'm trying to be as rigorous as possible and trying to steel man the church, right? To steal Sam Harris's approach, then I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and then see how I can knock down my enemy's argument. And
what I am saying, and I understand why you're saying that, why you're making that criticism, and I can understand where you're coming from, but I'm not saying that we should assume that it starts there. What I'm saying is we should just simply say, I don't know. We should just simply say we don't know. And all of these possibilities are out there. It could be all inclusive. It could be plus, plus, plus. It could be plus, plus. It could be plus. And we just don't know. And so that's the position I'm taking. I'm not saying that it doesn't include the parsonage, but I also don't think that I don't think you should assume that it does. You should assume nothing. You should assume that they have a base of $120,000 in 2014, and you have no idea what is beyond that or what is included in that.
Okay. Yeah, and that's fair. And I think I like that articulation a lot better. And I'm not getting that from the Exmos.
Oh yeah. Well, the Exmos, I mean, especially like if you go to Reddit, and now listen, Reddit is my home. Okay. And I'm about to piss off Reddit right now.
What the hell's gotten into you? My thing got stuck in my zipper. I got piss all over my pants.
And it's not my intention. I hope the people of Reddit, when they listen to this, they take this with the spirit in which it's intended.
Yo, so I just drank my own pee for the first time. And it ain't bad.
Reddit can get out of hand. Right? I mean, people, they take something on Reddit, they take a piece of information and they extrapolate it, and then somebody does an analysis and it all makes sense, and then somebody does an analysis and an extrapolation of their extrapolation, and all of a sudden, these guys are making $600,000 a year. Okay, so ex-Mormons that want to buy into that, they buy into that. Okay, yeah, we should avoid that. Just like the Mormon should avoid saying it's just $120,000.
Right.
The ex-Mormon should avoid saying, well, it's probably around $200 or $300. We don't know, and I hope we find out one day, one way or the other. If it's all inclusive, great.
Yeah. Again, pro transparency here. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, wait. So let me give you my strongest. What I think are the strongest Exmo arguments, though. So I do think that one, and then the one that the other one that I think is fair is, look, we have all known that they get some form of a stipend, and people pull up the Hinckley quote, and there's other quotes at least out there where they were very clear that there is, what is the word, a modest
stipend.
Now, this is where I want to criticize, because when you make more than 3% of Americans or of the world, whatever the number is, I saw it's about between like 5 or 3, top 3%. Yeah. I would not consider that modest. Although, in fairness to the church, they may be talking about that the check comes in a windowless envelope, which makes it very modest. It's completely covered.
Yeah, if there is one thing, like everybody accuses me of wanting to burn down the church with this leak or if there is one thing I want to come out of this leak, it is that the term modest stipend dies a quick death.
Yeah.
Because whether you agree with the amount or not, I hope that we can all at least agree that it is not a modest stipend. Right. They are not even coming close to hurting for money. Listen, my income is also public knowledge, my income from my personal job. And if they want to get into a battle of modest stipend, I will tell you that I will win hands down. Okay? They will beat me several times over. So the idea that modest stipend should be anywhere near the conversation, I am hoping dies a quick death.
Right. Yeah, and members do not do themselves a favor by trying to double down on that. And that's when the comparison to, well, equivalent CEOs. Well, that's just. So I agree with all that. Yeah. It is a lot of things. It is not modest, and it certainly is not purse and script, and and all these things about humble followers of the Lord Jesus Christ, and these other things we can certainly contrast, because at the end of the day, they are not viewed as CEOs, they are not viewed as administrators, they are apostles of the Lord Jesus Christ.
So, yeah, but are they though? No, I'm kidding.
I'm told they are.
So can I mention my favorite criticism about all this?
No.
Thank you for listening to Infants on Thrones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What's your favorite? Wait, are you going to be the Mormon critic or the?
Yep. This is. I saw this on. It was Faithful Mormons throwing this criticism, and I've heard it, and when I saw it again, I was like, that I think that's a debatable criticism. Is that the money that they got is not from tithing?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then where is it from? I love that one.
Well, I've seen.
Go ahead, Matt.
No,
go
sorry,
ahead.
Tom, go. I've been talking a lot.
Privacy. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Other than it's obvious that it is from tithing. I mean, when the church is close to going bankrupt and whatever it was, and then they make tithing, you have to pay tithing on your entire income and not just your surplus. And then all of a sudden they got all this money and they don't put it back to where it was, and to claim that they're not being paid with tithing, it's ridiculous.
Where does the seed money for all of this for-profit entities come from?
Yeah, that was my response. Is okay, maybe it comes from the business ventures, but where did that money come from?
And the other thing too is this is coming from the church. Like this memo is from the corporation of the presiding bishopric. Why is the corporation of the presiding bishopric taking for-profit funds and giving it to them through the corporation of the church? It all sounds really, really funky to me. But
right.
But here's the thing. One of the interesting.
Oh, that's a good catch, accountant. Oh, that's a good catch, accountant.
Yeah. Hey,
No,
I have my moments. But one of the interesting counters, actually, I'll call it a creative counter to our counter. So they say, "Oh, the church says it doesn't come from tithing," and we say, "Well, where do you think the seed money came from?" The counter that I've seen that's interesting is, well, maybe the seed money came from outside of tithing donations, like somebody dies and leaves $100 million to the church.
Oh, yeah.
That other line on the tithing slip.
But the thing is wait a second, were they donating that to the church for the purpose of for-profit seed money? I mean, right. I guess if that's what their will earmarked it for, I guess. But if I was to die and leave everything to the church, I would assume, if I was a believer, I would assume that's going to go to advance the humanitarian and religious cause of the church, not be the seed money for the next business.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Now, I suppose there is a very strong chance that there are these private investors, Mormon, member investors, and that's where the seed money came from for these business ventures. I mean, it's certainly possible. And like you said, we don't know. Those are all options and all things worth considering. But I'd like to know.
Well, the church has the ability to drop the mic on this. Okay, we could end this discussion tomorrow.
Yeah, show the books.
Show us the books, and we don't even need to see the books of the for-profit corporation. This can be done without seeing the books of the for-profit corporations. But it's not going to happen. The church has it. Will I would guess. I suppose that my fantasy that'll never happen will be that I get a call one day from these guys, and they come in, they say, "What do we got to do to shut you down?" And I say, "Open the books," and they say, "Okay, we agree." That's never going to happen. Yeah. But the thing is they have no incentive to show their books. They have nothing to gain by it, and they have everything to lose. If the church were to open their books completely to a real third-party audit and then make those audit results available to the public, and let's just say that it was a completely clean report, everything was above board, we all agree, even the worst ex-Mormon out there would have to agree that everything was done above board and ethically. There's not one ex-Mormon that would come back to the church because of that, because finances and complaints over finances is one bullet point in a long list of bullet points of why people leave the church.
Right.
And if it happened to be that this audit disclosed shenanigans, they stand to lose members over it. So they have literally no motivation to show their books. And I expect them to never do it. And so for that reason, we will probably always be needed.
Yeah. And until, what I'm hopeful is some of this, through some of these leaks or through some other information that the government starts getting concerned about the marriage between the nonprofit and the profit arm, and then starts requiring more transparency of all religions or all nonprofits who also hold profit arms in order to maintain their tax-exempt status. I see that as a possibility down the road, although quite a ways down the road.
Yeah, and I'm really not a big fan of the whole, challenge the tax-exempt status. Like, I'm not a fan in the sense that I don't think that there's really going to be a smoking gun that would ever really put their tax-exempt status in jeopardy. I mean, I have seen with my own eyes evidence through what people have given me that they go out of their way to try to follow all rules and regulations, whether they be IRS or otherwise. And it's kind of like, I live in Las Vegas. A lot of people know I live in Las Vegas. It's like the casinos here, right? They're making so much money by following all the rules around casinos that it's not worth it to make a couple extra million by cutting corners, so they don't.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing. Like, the church is making so much money, like it's not worth it for them to break the law and do this. Now, that doesn't mean that there may have been a mistake or an individual employee that took the liberty, thought he was maybe doing the church a solid and maybe bent some rules. But I'm talking like institutionally. I take the position that the church is going out of their way to follow the rules and regulations, especially when it comes to like the IRS. And but also people should remember that doesn't necessarily mean that everything is done ethically. But again, even if everything is done ethically, the people still have a right to know. So again, it all circles back. It all circles back to transparency.
Amen to all that. And I let me echo. I have no doubt exactly what you said, that the church is above board and following every law with regards to finances. I think what will be distasteful is the way that a religion specifically, and a nonprofit generally that also has a profit piece is able to manipulate those laws to a point that were never intended. And if that can be revealed, that's where the risk is. Kind of the whole, let's borrow a religious concept, the spirit versus the letter of the law.
Yeah, and they definitely take advantage of every single loophole out there. I have zero doubt of it. I have multiple sources that are independently telling me about this, and I don't know if they'll ever be in a position to reveal those documents. But let me be clear: we're not talking about breaking the law, like you're saying. We're talking about just taking gross advantage of existing loopholes.
The other thing that I heard that's come out, and this is where maybe I just missed, is there's been another discussion about the women leaders, the women auxiliary leaders, that they don't get a stipend, they get reimbursed for gas. And
I have no idea. Really.
Okay, so you don't. This is just all speculation that's stemming from this discussion. That's not part of the leaks at this point that you have.
I think I saw the same discussion that you saw, and it has nothing to do with me.
Okay.
I have a quick question, because I know we're kind of getting at the end of this. And again, I want to emphasize, don't reveal anything that you don't feel comfortable with. But one, is there a piece of information that you are just licking your chops to get? Like you have your eyes sighted on one particular thing. And two, have you already seen it and you guys are prepping to release it?
Well, I'll
Great
answer
question,
your first question. We don't request anything or desire anything specific, and I don't want you to look for anything particular. The position we take on that is this: if you are a church employee or somebody who comes up across church-related documents throughout your day, and you come across something that your conscience tells you that the public deserves to know for whatever reason, and that little bug in your head is bothering you to the point that you want to get it out there, we want that person to know that we are here to assist if they should need that. And that's it, period, end of story. We'll take anything, we will consider anything, and we don't seek out anything specific. As far as whether or not we're sitting on any explosive information, I mean, explosive is in the eye of the beholder. I would probably say absolutely not. We are sitting on some things. We're going to have our next leak will be this coming Monday. So I don't know what.
Can you give us a teaser? I
have been debating that all day, knowing that I was on here tonight.
Oh man, fine.
I can't give you a tease, unfortunately. But
come on, Ryan. I've been really good too.
Yeah, I might be willing to discuss it with you guys when we're done talking.
Okay.
If you behave yourselves, if you stop, if Matt stops criticizing us, I will consider it.
Tom's so uncomfortable because he's usually so soft with every guest, and I I promised Glenn I wouldn't just lick your guys' balls. I'd make you guys.
No, hey, I in a moment of seriousness, I actually really appreciate it because I'm not afraid of the questions, and I don't want people to like accuse us of going on only friendly shows and things like that. So no, I appreciate the hard questions, but as far as what's coming on Monday, it's not going to be even close to as big as pay stubs, but I do think that one or two of the documents that we're going to release will garner a significant amount of attention.
Well, cool. And so the next one comes out Monday?
Yeah, Monday. We're going to tweet tomorrow. Again, I know people are probably listening to a recording, but on January 12th, we're going to tweet it out. I think we're going to say 1:00 Eastern Monday will be the release.
Well, I like that because that'll motivate Glenn to get this out quickly.
We need to make it fast.
Jeez, I gotta take a leak so bad I can taste it.
Yeah, that'd be great. And we'll tweet out your podcast and give you some free advertising across all of our Twitter followers.
yeah, right. No, so the one thing I want to say that I've noticed is, I had a couple observations. The first one is I wondered, does anyone other than ex-Mormons really care about some of this information? Because I feel two things, and this is what I want you to respond to if I'm wrong. Mormons are not going anywhere, and then it's not going to affect them. But I want to come back to that in a second. But non-Mormons, it feels like this just goes over like a fart in church to non-Mormons because it's kind of like, yeah, whatever. Do you guys have a sense of that?
Yeah, I think it depends. I am going to let privacy jump in here because I think I'm dominating a little bit too much. But let me just say that I am in constant contact with people at like the New York Times and other places like that about all of these leaks, and I discuss these things with them. And the reality is it does have to have. It cannot really be just Mormon centric for them unless it's like something super scandalous. But as far as like church pay stubs, I mean, the bigger story nationally is just the fact that we got them and not so much the contents. But I think most of the stuff that we come across and that we have is going to be mostly Mormon centric. But obviously the videos went national because of the political stuff and the LGBT stuff. But yeah, so most stuff is probably going to be Mormon centric. But privacy, you chime in on that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And to kind of to answer the question that was asked previously, I have one of my main motivations, and I have no reason to believe that this has happened other than pure speculation. So don't infer anything from what I'm about to say. But one of my main motivations is if there's even a slight chance that the church has ever covered up any type of verbal, physical, sexual abuse, that would be well worth my time that I put into this project, and I definitely think non-Mormons would care about that for sure. And we're not looking for that, but I think, he's just... No, we're not. No. I'm just saying that, like I said, that was my personal motivation.
That's weird. I have zero interest in that topic. So.
Yeah. But that definitely would... That would definitely be, nationals. And actually, I think a lot of times ex-Mormons and Mormons get caught. They do get a little caught up in the finances to the point that they actually forget that would actually be the real smoking gun. If there is one, it would be something like that. And I hope there isn't one. But, but who knows?
Oh, that's interesting. And the finances, and I think we demonstrated as we were going through what the finances mean. This is where the church is brilliant and why it makes it tough for non-Mormons to care, because to really get into it requires, well, let's really look at this, and if you consider this and that, by then everybody, 140 characters, nobody cares.
Yeah.
But I in many ways I think this is cynical Matt back as. I think the church does that intentionally, and they recognize. I think we call that sophistry.
Yeah, I mean, they're very. I'll tell you what. You got to give them credit. They're very savvy when it comes to PR and it comes to business, and they definitely excel in that area.
And very careful. So when I talked about how Mormons don't care, but I'm going to back off that a little bit because I'm noticing a trend in talking about this, and the new argument amongst the other ones that we've said recently is, I don't really need to know this information. I've already prayed and have a testimony about, the position of these men. And to me, that when somebody says that means that they've been rocked a little bit by the information.
Yeah. I wonder. Maybe go to if your listeners go to the LDS Living article on this whole thing. That's about every single comment is that. It's almost to the point you start laughing. Yeah,
and I really do. I think it's that's the response that when they don't have a response and they don't have it doesn't comport with their blacks in the priesthood, polygamy, these types of things. When you bring it up, it comes back to talk about Joseph Smith marrying 14-year-olds. Well, the Book of Mormon is true. Joseph Smith brought the Book of Mormon, therefore he's a prophet. I mean, they do that ipso facto, and I'm seeing that a lot more than I expected with this particular topic. So
there's an angle about the Mormon reaction that we haven't talked about actually, and that is overseas, where you have a lot lower median income than you do here stateside. And I have been monitoring some Spanish-speaking Facebook pages that are pro LDS and some that are critical LDS, and some of them have posted the Salt Lake Tribune article, and there's one in particular where there was a quite fierce debate going on today. Number one, as to whether or not the article was accurate, and there were several people on there saying that they are absolutely sure that the apostles make nothing. Mm-hmm. And so there is a huge disconnect in the third world about what is really going on stateside. And I don't know how to get the information out there. I speak Spanish. I grew up in South America and Central America, but I still don't necessarily know how to get the information out there. But it'll be interesting to see when it becomes more and more available out there.
Hey, on that note, I serve my mission like every other Mormon in Latin America. Okay, not every other one, but and that was the first thought that came to my mind was I encourage these people that are living in a one-room shack with a dirt floor to pay their tithing before anything else, and they were struggling to put food on the table when these men are making this much money. That's the part that upsets me the most. And to kind of touch on what Ryan said, I haven't expressed this to him, but I would like to see that when we do get our wiki up, that we do have that translated into different languages that have heavy populations of Mormons.
I'll take it under consideration.
Well, here my position on it just generally is I think the church should pay their clergy. I think the product would be better. I think they should be open about it and not be afraid of it. I think I would like to see bishops and stake presidents and other people get some sort of a stipend for all the time. And I think you would, I think you would actually get a better product and you get better leadership if they were compensated or had some reimbursements or something more than they do now. Because it is a I mean, it's like the job is tough, and it deserves some sort of payment.
Hey, Matt and Tom, what do you think? Do you think there's going to be any uncomfortable conversations coming up when a member of the first quorum of the 70 calls up, maybe let's say a third or fourth quorum 70 member, and says, hey, I need you to get on this, this, and this. Why haven't you turned this report in yet? Or, kind of talks about how he needs things done and all this stuff. And in the back of that guy's mind, he's thinking how much the other one is making.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder how that dynamic is going to change.
I definitely think that it's going to play into people's minds because money changes everything for people. If it's harder to feel like you're not on an equal playing ground when you're talking to Elder Bednar and you're like, you make quite a bit more than I do, and it's I'm doing twice as much while you're sitting up in the red chair or whatever. I don't know.
Talking about the homosexual agenda.
There are no homosexual.
Which for those that don't know, Mormon Leaks is officially part of the homosexual agenda. So we'll save we will save Dallin Oaks the time and effort. One of our team members is a confirmed homosexual.
What?
Oh yes, and and so we are part of the.
Is he a homosexual?
That was pretty good.
Oh man!
I never thought I'd be part of the homosexual agenda, but I am now.
Yeah. Remember, the other part of the homosexual agenda, brunch. It's always brunch.
I like the joke where they say, "Oh yeah, the homosexual agenda does exist. It's to get laid, just like everybody else."
That's pretty good. That is pretty good. So something popped in my head about Eyring. The one thing that I haven't heard yet is, given his background in education and being an administrator, was it president of, at least was it Idaho or BYU, one of them, right? I mean, he's got a pension. He's very likely got a retirement that he's drawing from a very nice salary from his history there. So the other thing on top of this 120 is whatever his earned income is, for his career. So
well, look at it this way. Actually, you're absolutely right. But think about it like this: he doesn't. When you and I retire, when all of us retire, we have to use that money to live. If he doesn't want to touch that money, he's got more than enough.
Yeah, people don't appreciate someone, being in government. I appreciate the concept of a true pension, which is you get that till you die. That is a rare thing, and for these guys to get it, that's no small thing.
Yeah,
it's a good point. Well, WikiLeaks, or no, sorry, Mormon Leaks.
Mormon Leaks.
Mormon WikiLeaks.
Formerly known as Mormon WikiLeaks.
Yeah, did we cover what you guys wanted to? Is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
I'm good. Privacy.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thanks for having us on, guys. It was fun.
Yeah, no,
thanks for coming on.
Really appreciate it, and I hope we do it again sometime.
Your Honor, protecting the safety of the Queen is a task that's gladly accepted by police squad. For no matter how silly the idea of having a queen might be to us, as Americans, we must be gracious and considerate hosts.
Thank you, Lieutenant Drebin. Of course, we all have a stake in seeing that this portion of the Queen's American Goodwill Tour is completed successfully, and we can all take pride that the Queen has chosen our visit. Indeed, it is for all the people who will be able to share in the celebration. Especially exciting will be the Queen's public appearances. We also would like to...
One of the documents that's going to come out on Monday I think will be, I'm not saying it's like this big pro-church document, but I think it will be, it's not a negative thing, and it will be very easily spun by Mormons as a positive document. So, not everything is negative.
Really have to go pee. I'm doing the pee-pee dance. I'm doing the pee-pee dance. I'm doing the pee-pee dance.
Hi, this is Bert Fuller from Toronto, Ontario, and I read poetry for my job. You can comment on this episode on the website, infantsonthrones.com. And if you really like what you hear, give the Quorum a 5-star rating and write a short review on iTunes. I did. Anyone for the closing prayer?
We better hurry up. We need to make it fast. Don't want to make a mess. Don't want to pee our pants.
I'm also very much of a germaphobe, by the way. Believe me.
Thank you for listening to Infants on Thrones.